Welcome to Market Target. We are in Arizona with Leslie. What cities are we talking about here in Arizona?
All cities, but primarily probably Scottsdale and Sedona are the ones that most people reach out to me about. But, there's tons of areas for different price points um and specific locations that people might be interested in.
Yes, this is a very interesting market as far as regulations because this is a city. We're talking about a metro market here, but for whatever reason, the city has decided that they like overnight rental and they put a bunch of regulations and laws in effect quite a long time ago. And even their city website, county websites are very, friendly to people that are renting overnight. And it's not an easy process to get your permits, et cetera, but it is very spelled out for you on the county's website where they even have videos and things. And I've watched all those videos. And they want us to be there doing overnight rental. Is that true?
Absolutely. It brings in tons of revenues for specifically Scottsdale, which is one of the biggest markets, I think the most popular that people want to invest in. And Sedona's close to follow. But yeah, there's some regulations and some ordinances kind of in place to kind of keep owners in line and neighbors to be happy with the process of short-term renting. But it's super straightforward. It's all spelled out, like you said, on the websites. Pretty easy to follow and obtain the things that they're requesting.
Okay. Let's talk about the area in general. We're outside of Phoenix. Would somebody be interested in doing an overnight rental in Phoenix itself?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely, so with my market, I pull zip codes. I'm notorious for saying, hey, if you want to do your own search on Zillow, that's fine, but just know that you're probably going to see different properties from what I set you up on. Because I don't just say Phoenix. I actually pull certain zip codes where short-term rentals are more ideal. Um, where there's no restrictions with HOAs. Same for Scottsdale, same for Sedona. So I'm notorious for pulling zip codes in specific areas.
And are HOAs common? Is there an HOA in most of these areas or no?
Yes,
And but
especially the newer communities.
I see, but they're very like almost like they were created for people on vacation and that sort of thing.
So HOAs in like Old Town Scottsdale and North Scottsdale, they're there, but they're not as common as maybe places in Phoenix or Tempe or Glendale, where there's newer builds kind of being built more frequently. So I like to pull zip codes to kind of steer clear of HOAs, and I also like to set a filter to just show properties outside of an HOA.
Oh, so you're
The
saying we
only
don't want the HOA?
We don't want HOAs
Oh,
unless it's a condo, which obviously you can't get out of an HOA in a condo or a townhome. But even then, I know certain communities that have no restrictions and would be totally fine for short-term rentals. But generally speaking, non-HOA communities is where it's at.
I see. Okay, let's pull up a map. I'm going to pull up a map here, just like just off of Google or whatever, and I kind of want you to walk me through, what are these areas and why am I going to them? Okay, so I'm zoomed in a little too much here, but let's see. So I got Phoenix down here.
Yep.
Okay, and a lot of the action is going to be in Scottsdale, which is I mean, is this basically a suburb?
Rio Verde up there, North Scottsdale would be more the suburb, as well as like Fountain Hills. You can kind of see it up in yeah, right there. That's still considered Scottsdale, so that's more of the suburb, more desert, kind of rural area within Scottsdale city limits. Um, Most people want to be kind of in the city, right where you're pointing to.
Okay, what is the difference between? I mean, just as somebody who lives there and is driving around in these areas all day, what is your general overview of the difference between Phoenix and Scottsdale?
Um, Probably price point is the biggest difference. To invest in Scottsdale or live there or have a property in Scottsdale, you're definitely paying a Scottsdale price tag. And so when I'm meeting clients and get a better idea of where they're at on their price point, it helps me direct them to what areas would best suit their needs. So biggest differences would be, again, the price tag. Properties are a little bit more at a higher value. So, starting price points probably about high sixes if you're lucky, but typically like 750 is like the average starting point for Scottsdale, and then it goes upwards.
It's a little bit of a nicer area.
Yes, so like luxury, I mean it's literally got everything that one would want when visiting like our state. Lots of sporting events. We have 12 baseball fields, 12 baseball teams that come during spring training, and I think we have 8 fields total. One of them is in Scottsdale. And then there's a couple close by, like in Mesa and, you know, Tempe, different areas. So, sporting is big here. Our weather is huge. That's why people come to our state. Um, and then the sporting teams come here because our weather can accommodate. We don't really have natural disasters or crazy things that happen with our weather. It's pretty still
Well, let's
here.
talk about the weather because I'm going to forget. And
Yeah.
before we move on to, Sedona and these other areas, summertime is slow season. Is that true?
Yes.
And it's simply because it's
It's
oppressively
hot. I
hot. It's
mean,
brutal, right?
right, right.
So is it like a 2 month slow season, 3 month slow season, and the rest of the year is somewhat level?
I'd say about 2 months. I will say though, we do get bookings in the summer because we're still a vacation market. People still come here during the summer for vacationing. It's important to have a pool. It would be one of my non-negotiables. I always say when I get connected with someone, I'm only going to show you properties with pools that are already on the premises. Like we're not going to budget to install one or have one built. You want one right off the bat. Other things like maybe a hot tub or a pool heater, those things can be budgeted for, but a pool should be a non-negotiable here. You just won't get booked over the summer. Um, and then, of course, other amenities for outdoor activities and things like that.
I see. Okay. So slow seasons in the summer, and that is the opposite of most vacation markets, at least where the shop operates, and of course in the southeast. It's a different vibe, and it is. How hot does it get in the summertime? I mean, like today, what is it right now?
It's probably like 115 today.
115.
Yeah. Hey, it's a dry heat. And
Right.
it's so funny because people make fun of us for saying that, us locals.
Yeah.
It basically feels, you know, like an oven on your face when you go outside.
Oh my goodness. See, I'm in Florida, and everybody always talks and just thinks about Florida as being this ridiculously hot place all the time. And let me tell you, it is. It is so hot, but we never get anywhere even remotely close to 115. I mean, that's
Yeah,
you're speaking a different language there, but I would again, not to sit here and small talk, but 100 degrees in Florida, I would guess probably is hotter than 110 where you are because of it's a swamp here. You walk out and it's just like you're walking through a hot bowl of soup, you know?
right.
But yeah, different thing. Okay, so from Scottsdale, where do we go? What other areas would I maybe be interested in? You already mentioned Sedona. That's a little
Yeah.
further north.
Yes, so it's about, depending on the specific location, about 2 hours north. Same as Flagstaff. Actually, Sedona and Flagstaff are about 40-ish minutes apart. So I always say if you're looking at one of those markets versus the other, you're not far if you wanted to, promote or market, the close proximity to the other. It is about 20 to 30 degrees cooler. So, I'm in Sedona and Flagstaff often because I have clients that look, in the area. And I can say it's 115, 120 here over our summer, and it's like 78 in Flagstaff. So the temperatures drop, dramatically. It's a little bit warmer in Sedona just because it's not as high up in elevation. But Sedona, brings on the views. People love it. It's majestic. That's how I describe it. Every time I drive up, it always looks like a picture postcard. It's just so beautiful.
Hmm. Is it fair to say that Scottsdale is a little bit more like just kind of a higher end city that's, outside of Phoenix, but it's more of a city vibe. And then when you get into Sedona and Flagstaff, this is a little bit more along the lines of a traditional, I don't want to say Pigeon Forge, but more, and you do
Right.
own properties in Pigeon Forge, so I know you're very familiar with that, but, more of a traditional vacation area, a lot of golf and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Flagstaff is the only area within our state where we have skiing. We get snowball. So that makes it ideal for locals to visit, for people to come in from out of state when, if they enjoy, the snow and, snowboarding, skiing, things like that. Not far from the Grand Canyon. So definitely more of the vacation market feel up there, up north. And I will say the summers up north tend to be booked a little bit more frequently than maybe in the valley. I just closed on a property up north, not in Sedona or Flagstaff. It's actually 2 hours away from there in Pine. Let me see if you can zoom in
Hold on,
just a
I'll pull it up here.
tad.
Pine, Arizona.
Yes. Near Strawberry, which, Fossil Creek is there. So, like, lots of outdoor things to do. Um,
It's up here somewhere.
and it has been completely booked. I mean, I didn't hit my goal for opening, going live the beginning of July for the 4th of July weekend, but I went live the middle of July and I was booked solid for those, 2.5 weeks. I made my mortgage, and then a little bit of a buffer, and it did so well. It's been doing so well. All of August, with the exception of 3 days, has been booked.
Very nice.
And
So
that's
there's,
even during the weekdays, which is insane. I didn't expect that.
and did you pick that property based on, like, in other words, you just thought it would do well, or did you like the area, or all of the above?
All of the above, but my husband didn't have the same thoughts and feelings about it. He wasn't confident, and I'm like, no. I, I followed your advice on um, enemy methoding. I really, really dug deep on all of the properties that were available, and I really, really tried to set ours apart in terms of design and how it looked, aesthetics, things like that. I really wanted something that was different, and you know, I, I can't say whether or not someone feels like that, but you know, the bookings show that it's one of I mean, I'm a guest favorite now, and it's a super new property. So I'm super proud of this one. And it did not break the bank. I mean, it was fairly cheap. It was under 400K. So, these properties, these smaller size properties do exist here.
So let's talk about that a little bit. That is a lot more common in your market where, like a lot of times in the Smokies, I'll see somebody that spends 100 grand on making their house like a look all like an Airbnb with the pickleball and all that. And I roll my eyes a little bit because I'm like, we talk about this a lot around here, but in that area, price per night's important. And people are looking for, a fairly relatively inexpensive vacation and all that stuff adds up. And in your market, houses like that are pretty common, right? Like the,
Yeah.
theming and uh, walls, mural walls and like cowboy pools and all this kind of cool, like, Airbnb type of stuff. You even see these houses on the market for sale sometimes. So talk to me about that vibe a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that if you have the space in the backyard to be able to offer those types of amenities, pickleball here is, I mean, it's such a big thing that people love it. They eat it
Yeah.
up. It's fun. I've played it. My kids love it. So if you can offer those types of amenities that just provide entertainment and being outdoors, those tend to do really well. If you don't have it, but maybe can incorporate it at some point, it's worth, looking into and maybe budgeting for. But yeah, there's properties that include pickleball courts and other, sports courts, other outdoor activities. I've had some clients build, pickleball courts. I've had some clients build the putting greens. Maybe they've purchased the properties with one or the other and wanted to add, more onto it. And they've done quite well. I mean, I've pulled up a couple of Airbnb links that my clients have shared with me, and all of these properties are unique in their own way, and they're different sizes, 3 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, seven, and different price points, and they're absolutely killing it.
Hmm. Yes, let me put it this way. When I see the pickleball and all the crazy murals and such in Miramar Beach, which is right down the street from where I live, which is a vacation town, I roll my eyes a little bit. But when I see it in Scottsdale, Sedona, I'm like, oh, that's a Scottsdale house.
Yeah.
It's normal there, and I definitely think that it's a cool. I don't really know how to explain it because could a house here in Miramar Beach with a pickleball court do well? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I rolled my eyes, but where you are, it's not even uncommon to see these houses for sale on Zillow with the murals and the flamingos and all this
Yeah.
cool stuff. So yeah, it's just a different vibe. Do you have any maps or maybe even some properties for sale that we could kind of get an idea of what we're looking at here?
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you
Let me try
share
and do share
screen.
screen. Yeah.
So here we have basically exactly what we were talking about. Well, this one's like, decked out to the nines here. So tell me about this house.
Yeah, so this house was the whole backyard with the exception of the pool area and that, Ramada space was completely dirt. So the pickleball court, the in-ground trampoline, the putting green, the bocce ball, all of that was added after he closed. And it's one of those super properties, right? It's got literally everything that you would think of when you're thinking of like a really cool vacation retreat. And then it's got, the aesthetics where it's, very pretty, very, modern, up to date. All of the things that do well for a Scottsdale property. But the backyard, I think, is where, you know, he brings in most of the views and most of the desire to rent the space. It's in a perfect location in Scottsdale. It's in North Scottsdale and the 85254 zip code, which a lot of people love that area. It's close to the Waste Management Open, Barrett Jackson Car Show. A lot of the events that are held in Scottsdale is kind of in the North Phoenix area, or I'm sorry, the North Scottsdale area. And so this is a perfect location for that.
Would you say
And
that this house is like cream of the crop? I mean, do they get crazier than this? This looks pretty impressive to me.
I mean, they definitely can in terms of maybe size of a property. This one's got the 7 bedrooms and, they're able to fit 15 beds. So they've strategically placed and set up bedrooms to accommodate, multi-family, just lots of different options and opportunities for when people want to, rent
Interesting
out a
that he
space in
has
Scottsdale.
the price of the property in the title. That's some guts. This looks
Yes.
like the a house that's like what my kids watch on YouTube. What's that guy's name they always watch? Um, my kids they watch this guy Ben on YouTube. Ben, I think it's Azalart, and he does all the secret rooms and all that kind of crazy stuff. And that's kind of what this house looks like to me.
And it does have a secret room, which makes it even more funny that you mentioned
Is
that.
it like a what is it like a bookshelf kind of a
It
like a
is, it is.
really?
And I mean, it was just the whole interior is just as nice as the exterior. It's very cohesive. The color scheme, they really nailed it for, the execution. It did
See,
not look
again,
like this when we looked at
my opinion, which is nobody's even asking of it right now. Don't do this in the Smokies. It's too much for,
it.
it's too much for Destin. You don't, first of all, you're not going to have any dirt in Destin to do something like this. It's too, the land is too valuable. But in Scottsdale, this is Very impressive and probably will get you booked. Now, what are the
Yeah.
neighbors at a house like this? Are the neighbors living there? Do I need to worry about that?
So it's a good sprinkle. It's a mix. You know, you will have maybe year-round permanent residents next door to you potentially. But in certain areas, specifically in Old Town, you'll probably have a neighborhood where there is, you know, five, six, seven houses, you know, surrounding you that are all Airbnbs,
I
and
see.
maybe just like one or two that are permanent residences. So you know, as long as you're adhering to the ordinances and the rules and just, you know, being a good host and maintaining your guests, there's no parties and they're not being super crazy. More times than not, everything is fine and no one has any issues. But I'm sure that, you know, I'm sure that they exist, those neighbors. Let's just
Yeah.
say those
The
neighbors.
get off my lawn people. Yeah. But
Yeah.
this thing's very cool. Great job on this. This is a very
Yeah.
impressive home. What else do you have here?
Well, I pulled up a Phoenix. So this is another Scottsdale property. They just closed in December, and again, execution is perfect. They changed, so the whole property was renovated, so it looked pretty brand new. They went in, added the wallpaper, added the paints, you know, really made a Scottsdale vibe, the murals, the sauna, none of that existed. And they really brought like the aesthetics and just, you know, the desirability
Mm,
for renting this space. It's a three bedroom, and for being a three bedroom, it does quite well. I feel like when they went live after everything was said and done, I think he said that he had at least 42K in bookings,
mm.
you know, the first couple of days or week or something along those lines. So,
Do I have to do all this stuff to get booked? To do, in other words, these are very impressive and probably put a decent amount of money into these rehabs here. Can I rent just a regular house or will it not rent?
I mean, you can rent, we want, so here I feel specifically in Scottsdale, and it's probably everywhere. When someone's renting a property, they want something as nice or better than what they're used to. So you do want to put some, you know, some attention to detail, some attention to theming or decor or just aesthetically pleasing properties do really well here.
Hmm.
We're probably not going to do that well in terms of revenue or bookings if it's dated, you know, if there's no attention to detail, if it looks older. I think keeping the personality, like for instance in Sedona, there's quite a bit of, you know, older properties and they've got like the older tile, but they still rent well because of the area and because it keeps that personality. So I think it just depends on what you do with it. You can update, you know, small things for a big impact, you know, paint, fixtures, things like that, hardware.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, yeah, show me another one.
All right, so
A purchase
this
price
one
on,
is
and also we'll just go with this one here. What's the purchase price on this house?
This one was 980 and a Tucson property. So to get this type of a property in Scottsdale, you're probably paying well over $1 million. So I pulled the Tucson just because it is a space where people are interested in. You know, I've only had one sale in Tucson and he was actually looking. This one's Kyle, he's a repeat short-term shop client, and he was actually looking in Sedona and then happened to come across this one. And I happened to be licensed in Tucson, and we made it work.
Love it. Okay. What else you got? Maybe a house for sale or something like that? Or what
Um,
about that one you were going to show us your house?
oh, this one, yeah.
Well, cool. More of a cabin vibe.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that with the elk.
Yes, that's an elk. So elk is big in that area. I mean, you'll probably see them strolling across your property multiple times a day. You hear them before you see them usually. They have this weird call noise, but yeah. So I really wanted to incorporate, I didn't want to lose the vibe of a cabin in the area, but I definitely wanted to bring a little bit of like a modern, you know, Western type of a theme.
Love it. And where's this? This is a small town, yeah?
Yeah, Pine.
Is it even a town?
hmm It's right outside of Payson. It's very small.
Cool, cool. So what am I looking at for, if I want to buy something right now? You got a listing or two we could take a look at?
So I've got a couple in Scottsdale and I pulled one in Phoenix, which does have a sports court. Um, I mean, the price points are a little bit higher, but I really wanted to show an existing short-term rental.
All right. Let's take a look at any one of these. You go ahead.
Okay, let's pull up this one. Okay, so I pulled up this Scottsdale listing in North Scottsdale. It's an existing short-term rental. Um, Kind of a lot of what you would see, like larger lot sizes in North Scottsdale typically, not all the time, but most of the time you can find something a little bit larger. Um, it's got the sports court. It's got some, updating throughout the property. It's a four bedroom, three bath. It's they've converted, I think one of the rooms. Let me see if I can find it. So pool, hot tub, the heating component on the pool as well. They didn't show it, but it's a five bedroom plus, meaning that there is one bedroom inside the property that was converted. Converting garages is big here. Um, if you have the means to do it, it really does help with, bringing in revenues because, as they say, heads and beds is big here. It's harder to come by for a five bedroom in Scottsdale, so when you can offer five bedroom plus, the number jumps in revenue. And that one's for just under 850. Um, Price points vary. Here's a Phoenix one that I liked. I pulled up. This one's a six bedroom plus, which again, the more bedrooms, the better. Nicely updated. It does have the pickleball court in the backyard, pool, lots of space to add on as well. The design is kind of in par with what people are looking for. This one has like an outdoor shower, so a little bit more amenities that are offered. And essentially it's just really what people are looking for when they're staying in the
I
area.
would assume
This
I
is
can
out.
find something that is not, you know, can I find a fixer upper?
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely exist. So my market can accommodate all asset classes, long-term, mid-term, short-term. I have a client who has a condo who basically does like a hybrid model of both short-term and mid-term. I guess he inherited snowbirds and he's just kind of kept them on. They stay couple months out of the year and it's worked out for him and that's what he does. Um, so yeah, there's all different types of properties out there. There's properties that come unfurnished that you have to budget for in making it, furnished and be a short-term rental. There's some that, come fully furnished. There's some separate bill of sale. I mean, there's all different types of properties. And so, fixer-uppers, they do exist. I've had some clients be open to looking. But in the end, I think sometimes it's easier to find something that's a little bit more turnkey or somewhat turnkey.
Can you give me some sort of idea of what a gross income would be? I know it's not really, obviously, it's not something we do here at the shop, but maybe just some sort of ballpark on maybe, I don't know, even one of those Airbnb listings we were looking at or,
Yeah,
um,
so I mean, I think that, a property that has hot tub, heated pool, obviously a pool, fire pits, and really things for outdoors, at a 750 to 850 price point, you should have no problems hitting at least 100K. And of course, it's all property specific. I always say that location and property specific. I've seen properties that when I'm working with my clients to, do projections or just kind of figure out what the area would look like in revenue, I've seen where one property is literally around the corner from the other and, the price point varies dramatically. So, um, all of those factors you have to take into consideration when you're trying to figure out revenues. But generally, I'd say, 100K is easily attainable, as long as you put a little bit of effort into it.
Okay, great. And I can get into. I mean, do you have super luxury here, or the one you showed us was 3 million, so the purchase price can go as high as I want it to?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely looked at the 5 million to 12 million price point for a client that was considering my market. So they exist. I mean, they're all over. There's a couple of Sedona properties that I kind of pulled that I would love to share.
Hmm.
I would say Sedona is similar in price point to Scottsdale. You get a little bit of differences because of the location. Pools here, they're hard to come by, but if you can find a property with a pool, I mean, that sets you apart like no other. Hot tubs are a really big amenity. I wouldn't say though that it's a make or break to have a pool. It's just, you know, it's a perk and it does bring in, great revenue numbers if you are able to offer one.
See, this
But this is
I
the
like
three and a
this.
half million. Yeah, this is,
I
I
like
mean,
this.
beautiful.
I mean, this is obviously 3.5. It's a lot. It better be likable, but
Right.
it
This one
did
had a pool, I think.
definitely have a little more luxury going on in this area. Like a more maybe like wealthy folks buying a home for themselves and that kind of vibe, and may or may not like this house is nice enough. You may not, this might be somebody who's paying cash and not even renting it, kind of a thing. But beautiful home. I guess what I'm getting at here is that I would love to do. This would be a fun market to do some shopping in because there's a lot of cool properties.
Yeah, and I mean, the more views that you can offer, the better the property does. But I mean, I've had clients buy a property where you're driving up and you see the mountain views, but not necessarily from your back or front yard, or maybe they're peekaboo, and they still have great success. I think I've pulled a couple. So here's one. They have two listings. This is a unique property. I mean, the views are they're spectacular. They're stunning, just as, the description states. Um, Beautiful design, and they also have a casita, so they are able to rent it together or separately. And, guest favorite, they closed in December, and, from what I've heard as an update, they're doing quite well. Um, Maybe not that one. Here's another that actually just closed this April, and they're already a guest favorite. Again, the views though, they're just stunning.
Hmm.
This is the kind of things that people love when they're visiting. I mean, if you can provide it, it's so much of a perk in terms of um, what guests are looking for. I had another one. Oh, here's another. These have peekaboo views, but the way that they've set it up, they actually bought it furnished and they've changed. I mean, it looks completely different from when they purchased it. But also another example of just one that does really well. They've incorporated some of the dated features to, work in their favor, and they're a guest favorite as well.
Yeah, this one, yeah, it's not over the top. You got kind of the original cabinets going on. You got some carpet.
hmm
I say, cool.
I mean, little peekaboo, see in this picture right here, just little views every now and again. But I mean, it's still a desirable location. People love it. And, when I've talked to them last, they're doing well, considering buying another potentially.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Well, what else? Anything else we need to cover?
Um, I think I did pull up. So this is a condo, and again, it's, all different price points here. It's not always just super luxury, super, high in the millions plus range. This one was a condo that sold for 325, and, they did some interior design to just change it up a bit. Um, and again, doing well, guest favorite. So yeah,
So
we can accommodate
condos are
all
an
asset
option.
classes.
What was that?
We can accommodate all asset classes and
All
price
asset
points.
classes. How much
Yeah,
did this thing cost?
325.
325. And so condos are an option.
Yeah, especially in Scottsdale. So this is a condo in Scottsdale. It's right around the corner from Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall, and really that whole location is, dining, entertainment, nightlife, all of, the clubs are in that area. So a desirable area just because you can go and walk around and, have somewhere to be.
Wonderful. Well, listen, Leslie, you're fantastic. Appreciate your time. You can get a hold of Leslie at shorttermshop.com, agents at shorttermshop.com, Leslie at shorttermshop.com. And what else? Did we get everything?
I think so. I mean, large market, something for everyone. And my goal is to just try and direct someone to fit what they're looking for in their buy box.
Absolutely. And plenty of rental experience yourself as well with your own property. So that's a great plus to have. Well, thank you for your time, and we'll see you soon.
My pleasure. Bye.
Bye.